What's happening, everybody? Doing this one more time for 2023. Final thoughts, final updates ahead of championship week. Covered a lot last night, but with the importance of championship week, felt necessary to hop on for a little bit today. Knock through any last minute thoughts, or if you missed the stream last night and you've got new questions, or if you want to rehash anything, we can get into all of that as you guys prepare for your championship runs. Welcome to another episode of Facemask Fantasy, the last episode of the calendar year. Might be the last episode of the season for some time. I guess just as a heads up, this channel will probably be taking a break following week 17. Won't be going live for week 18. There shouldn't be championships played that week. I can be available in Discord if there is anybody who happens to play week 18, but leagues should be wrapping up today. Championships should be dished out this week, not next week. So it won't be live next week. Just want to throw that out there. So this will likely be the final stream for a bit. There will be a lull period. There will be a break. Now, I could perhaps try to jump on next week if anybody wants to just, talk their shit. If they win if you win the whole thing, go ahead and boast about it. That can be your platform. I'll crowdsource the Discord about that one. But outside of that, probably looking at a break until we start to look into dynasty season. So after the playoffs, after the NFL playoffs, can start pumping out some dynasty content for anybody who plays dynasty. If you don't play dynasty and if you're interested, I'm of course happy to talk shop on that. Great way, fun way to stay involved over the course of the season, over the course of the calendar year to play fantasy. A lot of folks just like to play redraft and that's it. That's understandable. But if anybody is there, there's plenty of people out there who can't get enough NFL, and dynasty kind of helps with that. It keeps your interest year round. So if you play, we'll look to pump some content out over the course of the off season, probably starting in March as free agency starts to kick in. But there will probably be a lull period after today. So just wanted to say thank you to everybody for your time this year, for your engagement, for thinking enough to come hang out over the course of the season. That's why I do it. That's why I do this. That's why, I hold this down for you guys over the course of 17 weeks. Well, most of those weeks anyway. Obviously, there are some gaps due to holidays and whatever. But hopefully I was able to steer you in the right direction more often than not. And hopefully there's enough folks who are playing for championships today. Unfortunately, not everybody can play for a championship. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. But if we can help you get there, that's the ultimate objective. So with that, I'll get into the most recent injury updates. There are a couple. And then again, anything that anybody wants to talk through, whether it's new today or if it's a rehash from anything we discussed yesterday, happy to do that with just a couple hours before the week 17 slate, before championship week slate. We'll get into all of it. Let's start with the most recent injury updates. Zay Flowers is expected to play today. I don't think his status was ever seriously in concern. However, there is a flip-flop that was a bit unexpected. There's a couple of actually. Raheem Mostert for the Dolphins is now not expected to play week 17. It was looking like Mostert was likely to go. But he will actually miss this game, or he is expected to miss this game, which catapults Devon Achane into RB2 territory with volume. So if you have Devon Achane, I was not advocating for him last night. I was not suggesting him. The script can easily be flipped this time around. If Mostert is not able to go, we'll get the official word on that within the next 20 minutes. But if Raheem Mostert can't go, Achane goes from a difficult guy to trust into RB2 territory just based on volume. Another flip-flop from yesterday. Jacoby Brissett for the Commanders is now unlikely to play, which means that the team will go back to Sam Howell, who they wanted to bench, but now they have to go back to in a brutal matchup at home against San Francisco. At this point, ideally, you're not playing any Commanders. It's just the vibes are not great. The 49ers are coming in looking like, even after last week's loss, you still have to put them in the top 2 teams in football with the Baltimore Ravens. It's a mismatch at pretty much every level at each position in this game. I don't think the Commanders have a single advantage anywhere. I wouldn't trust a single Commander. That includes Terry McLaurin. If you're between him and some dart throw wide receiver 4s, then maybe I suggest McLaurin, but it's impossible to trust any of these guys. Brian Robinson is coming back after missing a couple of weeks. Good luck against San Francisco. I guess Antonio Gibson. Who knows if Chris Rodriguez gets in there a little bit more just to protect Brian Robinson in his first game back. I don't know. Feels like it's a mess. Jerry Jeudy expected to play week 17. We can't trust him. Kenneth Walker expected to play week 17. He's an RB2 if he's able to go. So obviously keep an eye on injury reports. He is in the late window, but it looks like you can rely on Walker today if you need to. Zach Charbonnet is subsequently not really playable. Tough to trust him. The Bengals are hopeful that Jamar Chase will play. This one is a big one. Again, if you have Jamar Chase, I was mentioning it yesterday, I will repeat it today. You have to wait on him. If your best alternate option plays in the 1 o'clock window, then get somebody on your bench who's playing in the 4 o'clock window. Jamar Chase was a top 3 pick in your fantasy draft. Maybe top 5 if you play standard scoring. But he was an easy top half first-round pick. He is in your lineup until you see him or hear about him being ruled out. He's in your lineup otherwise. So if your best alternate is currently a player playing in the 1 p.m. slate, drop that player, add somebody in the 4 p.m. slate. There's no need to hang on to any random bench. Any given random player who is not in your lineup can just be dropped. It's championship week. You don't need these guys anymore. Get a guy who plays in the 4 o'clock window or later, obviously Sunday night included. Just in case Jamar Chase can't go. However, the latest update is that Chase should be able to play. Jordan Addison will play week 17. Could be less than 100%. Maybe KJ Osborne gets in there a little bit more. It's a good matchup on paper for the Vikings. The Packers are down multiple players in their secondary, including Jair Alexander. It is tough, however, to trust Jordan Addison. Suffered the injury last week. He's been questionable. He's expected to go. That's great. But it's tough to trust him. Alvin Kamara, good to go. He's in your lineup. And again, Raheem Mostert is officially ruled out. He will not, according to Adam Schefter, he will not play. Devon Achane is on the RB2 roadmap. If you have him, we can talk about your other options. I may still pivot to guys that I was suggesting, over Achane yesterday. I prefer even when a backup, emerges in a starting role and a starting opportunity, I would prefer to take a guy who is a regular starter, who is the normal starter for his team. But we can get into it if you have Devon Achane as an option for you at running back. Cole Kmet is a game time decision for week 17. DJ Moore should get all the volume that he can absolutely handle. It's not a great matchup. The results have been up and down for him this year. In PPR leagues, you can fire him up as a wide receiver 2, closer to the low end wide receiver 2 than the high end. Zay Jones will not play. He was going to give it a go, or he was going to try, but we're down to pretty much Calvin Ridley and Evan Ingram for CJ Beathard. Ridley's ceiling is not as high as it normally is. It's tough to feel good about him as anything more than a floor play, but he should come through with volume. And it's official. Josh Jacobs will not play. Zamir White is a strong RB2. I would probably put him in top 15 consideration to come through with volume, and the matchup is spectacular. The Colts give up a lot of points, especially over the past month of the season, to running backs. So it's a great spot for Zamir White. He's in the top 15 at running back this week. In all likelihood, you're firing him up, unless you're between him and a stud. Obviously, at this point, always start your studs. Even in bad matchups, start your studs. But Zamir White is in stud territory if you're between him and a couple of other, RB2s. That's the most up-to-date information that we have. We, again, of course, will get inactives rolling in about 15 minutes. So we'll get some official confirmation shortly here so I can get to questions. As always, whether you are new here or whether you've been around the block, I get to members first. That is a perk of the channel. If you are a member, your questions will get answered in priority, or out of your first in line. If you're feeling generous enough to donate a super, you don't have to. It's not necessary, but that will be a line jumper as well. And then I will get to everybody else. I just asked for some patience. And my other ask is, as always, if you're enjoying the conversation, the engagement, the dialogue in this channel or in this stream, I just ask that you like the stream for algorithm purposes. Appreciate that in advance. What's going on, Greg? Good to see you and everybody. And, again, one more time, Happy New Year to everybody. Hopefully everybody has a good day, a successful day, championship week, whatever you're playing for. And a fun evening tonight, however that's spent, whether that's just if you're going to watch football at a party, whether you're going to watch football at home, or whether you're not going to watch but you're going to be doing something with friends, or whatever makes you happy, whatever you find happiness. Hopefully that's what you're doing tonight, as we ring in the new year. I mentioned Nico over Reed. I do prefer Nico Collins over Jaden Reed. I like Jaden Reed quite a bit. But Nico Collins has been a stud, specifically at home, catching passes from CJ Stroud this year. I'm going back to that well with Stroud back for Houston. So I want Nico over Reed. No Tank Dell. Noah Brown is off the injury report, so he might siphon a little bit of work. But Nico Collins is that team's wide receiver 1. He is their alpha. I expect significant volume for him today in a beatable matchup. Same with Shaheed. I like Shaheed quite a bit. I'll be rooting for Shaheed today. He's my dart throw in a best ball tournament final. I don't have any leagues. I mentioned this last night. I don't have any leagues in championship games today. Made the playoffs everywhere where I was competitive, but bowed out the first or second round in each of them. Disappointing, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. But I do still have a best ball tournament that I'm in today. Jahmyr Gibbs didn't help me last night, but CeeDee Lamb sure did. If anybody has CeeDee Lamb, congratulations. That might have been what you needed to get over the hump. And if you went against CeeDee Lamb, it's time to push all the upside buttons. You might as well just swing for the fences. Floor plays aren't going to get it done if you had to go against CeeDee. But I have Shaheed as a dart throw in that tournament, so I'll be rooting for him to catch a bomb. It's just he's a dart throw. It's not, you can't fire him up with any confidence when you have somebody like Nico Collins. So, yep. Nico over Reed, Nico over Shaheed. Okay, back to the top. Um, Stroud or Fields? I mean, Fields probably has the upside. He's at home. He's down now. He's down his weapons. Darnell Mooney will not play today. I don't know if that's a significant loss. Cole Kmet is a game time decision, which I think has been a little bit more of a downgrade than an upgrade. So it's possible Cole Kmet can't go. We might be down to Justin Fields throwing the ball to DJ Moore, Khalil Herbert, and then him running around. But that's where the upside lies. So I think my suggestion is Fields over Stroud. Connor, Singletary, or White. Connor gets the Eagles, certainly an unbeatable matchup. White is in a great matchup against the Colts. Singletary is in a good matchup against Tennessee. These are all these guys are in good spots. If you can only play one of them, and you need a flex from the above before I get too far ahead of myself. Well, you have to play. Let me get the wide receivers out of the way. You have to play Ayuk, and I think you have to play Diggs despite his bad stretch. He is a stud. You start your studs. You have to go back to the well with your studs, even if they're on a bad stretch, even if they're on a dry spell. It's championship week. It's for all the marbles. You die with your best players. You live and die with your best players. That's got to be the mantra. So your two wide receivers are Ayuk and Diggs. I like Jaden Reed quite a bit. I can't move off of Stephon Diggs catching passes from Josh Allen at home. You're playing Diggs. You're playing Ayuk. I would then play Zamir White and James Conner. Singletary's in a good spot. He's in a good matchup at home. But there's no question who's going to get all the volume between the three of these guys. Zamir White and James Conner will get that. Josh Jacobs is out. Zamir White will get all the volume in a great matchup against Indy. James Conner will get all the volume in a beatable matchup against the Eagles. That's where you got to go. Fields, White, Connor, Ayuk, Diggs. And then you're starting the Bills defense. If you don't have the Baltimore Ravens and you didn't play the Cleveland Browns, if the Bills are available, that's the defense you play at home against Bailey Zappi and a dead New England Patriots offense. I know that the Bills haven't been great this year, but they've been better at home. Somebody might have dropped them after last week's disappointing result on the road against the Chargers. I would go right back to the well with them at home today against New England. The Bills, for me, are the number 3 defense on the slate behind Cleveland, who already went on Thursday, and Baltimore. I would play the Bills if they are available to you. And then I would probably go Butker over. I would go Butker pretty much over, outside of like 5 or 6 kickers. He's at home. The Chiefs offense has struggled, but they're at home. They should get into scoring position more often than not at home. You play Butker. Judy or KJ Osborne? Man, neither. But honestly, I'll go Osborne. You're hoping for wide receiver 3 numbers. Addison is expected to play for the Vikings, so that cuts into Osborne's opportunities. I don't love it, but I would go Osborne. I mean, Judy could be the Broncos wide receiver 1 today, but Jaron Hall versus Jarrett Stidham. I mean, at least the Vikings are trying. They're scratching and clawing for the playoffs. The Broncos are dead in the water. I prefer to play a player on an offense on a team that's playing for something. Whatever the mathematical scenarios are, the Vikings are they're scratching and clawing and fighting for an opportunity to get into the playoffs. The Broncos are pretty much dead. And Judy's been one of the disappointments at wide receiver this year. It's probably him, Christian Watson, and then looking at guys drafted in the top like 3 or 4 rounds this year, I mean, y- talk about guys like Christian Watson and Jerry Judy. Those are like the disappointments. Mike Williams is up there too, but that he just got hurt. Judy and Watson have played a little bit more than that. They've been injured too, but I mean, I can't. I don't trust Jerry Judy. I don't trust Jerry Judy. Yeah, I guess I would go Osborne and just hope that he runs ahead of Jordan Addison tonight, even though Addison is expected to play. Osborne over Judy. Um, Flex options. How many of these can you start? Is it one, two? Higgins, Waller, Lockett, Robinson, two Robinsons, DeMarcus and Bryant, and then Jordan Addison. I guess T. Higgins in what could be a potential shootout in Kansas City. I guess that's where I would go. Um, if you need a second guy, I guess I would go Lockett at home in a beatable matchup against Pittsburgh. I don't trust. I mean, I just don't know how much I trust Darren Waller. It's a great matchup. It's a spectacular matchup for him against the Rams. Um, I don't know that I trust Darren Waller. I would say Higgins and Lockett, and if you need to pick one, um, Higgins, Higgins and Lockett. Okay, it's one Higgins. I'll say Higgins. He's the better player, even though his season has been disappointing too, as far as I know he's popped the past couple of weeks, but he's been disappointing himself this year as far as expectations go. That being said, he has sprung back to life recently. He's reminded folks that he is, in fact, a damn good wide receiver. I would go with Higgins. I would go with Higgins. We need two between Tyrod Taylor, Mason Rudolph, and Taylor Heineke. Oof. Yeah. Okay. I mean, when this is what happens when you have injuries, right? It's like, what are you gonna do? Tyrod is at home against the Rams. Heineke is on the road against Chicago. Not a great matchup, but at least Heineke has decent weapons. Mason Rudolph against the Steelers. Rudolph had a QB1 week last week because, of course, he did. Um, Only one of these guys is playing at home. That's Tyrod. I think that's where I would go. I would go Tyrod with one, and then I guess it's between Heineke and Rudolph for the other one, for the other spot. Um, Over the past month, the Seahawks give up top 5 production to opposing quarterbacks. The Bears, on the other hand, who is Heineke's opponent, are in the bottom 10. I will actually say Rudolph. The matchup is more favorable by the numbers, and when you're between these streaming options, these low end options, go with the matchup. Go with who has the better matchup. The Falcons have struggled on the road this year. I know a lot of that is with Desmond Ridder, but the vibes are not as good for the Falcons on the road, and they're playing the tougher opponent by the numbers. I'll say Rudolph in a more favorable matchup against Seattle. Tyrod at home. The Rams are a great matchup for opposing quarterbacks. So you have to, so that's double for Tyrod. He's at home and it's a good matchup. So I'll say Tyrod. And then I'll take Mason Rudolph against Seattle. Yeah, he's on the road, but Seattle's giving up top 5 production to quarterbacks this year. Mason Rudolph did put up a QB1 performance last week. So maybe we just ride that wave, ride that train. He's got good enough weapons, and Heineke is in a bad matchup by the numbers, and the Falcons struggle on the road, so he's my sit. Yep. Tyrod and Rudolph. Full PPR, Kenneth Walker or Jaden Reed. Walker's the floor play, but Reed has the higher ceiling, I would think, and that's I think where I would probably go. Walker is a fine floor play if you're a comfortable favorite. If you're looking at your situation and you're a 15-point, 20-point favorite, you're just your team is better than your opponent today. It's probably not the case in most championship matchups, but you never know. If you're a comfortable favorite, Walker. If it's closer in full PPR, if it's an even matchup or you're an underdog, I would go Reed. And it is 11:30, so we should be getting confirmations on injury statuses here shortly. We know that Josh Jacobs is not expected to play. We know that Raheem Mostert is not expected to play. We'll see about folks like Cole Kmet. Ultimately, I guess Jamar Chase will come later. But it sounds like he's trending toward playing. Yeah, Walker, if you're a comfortable favorite. Otherwise, I would go Reed. Rams or Broncos defense? The Broncos, I guess. I prefer to play a team who's playing for something, but the Rams are on the road on they got to travel east for an early game. I'm not as crazy about, unless it's an absolute elite defense like the Browns, like the Ravens. I don't feel comfortable about a streaming a defense on the road, or if the matchup is too good to be true, like you're playing the Carolina Panthers. This is not that. I worry about the Rams. The Broncos aren't really playing for anything, but they get Easton Stick at home. I think that's where I would go. I would prefer to play the Indianapolis Colts if you have them. The Chicago Bears against Atlanta is a good stream. And then, of course, again, if anybody's sitting out there and the Bills are on the wire, unless you're starting the Baltimore Ravens, the Bills are the play. The Bills are the play on defense this week as your defensive stream. Adams and Lockett over Demarcus Robinson, Rashid Shaheed, and Jordan Addison. Yes. Yes, you have to. You have to. Adams is in a dome, so no weather concerns at least. And Lockett's at home. It's a good matchup. Yeah, that's where you have to go. That's where you have to go. All those other guys are dart throws. Addison is not normally a dart throw, but he is this week because he was only just cleared to play, or he's expected to play. That's the other thing. Expected to play. We've seen it happen enough times. Guys who are expected to play ultimately get ruled out. It literally just happened with Josh Jacobs last week. Like, there's no need to mess around with Jordan Addison. If you've got better options in the earlier windows, just go with them. Don't roll the dice on that. Don't play that game. No need. And then, yeah, Robinson and Shaheed are dart throws. I'm rooting for Rashid Shaheed today, admittedly, but in season-long championship lineups, I can't advocate starting him. He's too much of a dart throw. Could he come through in a great matchup? Of course. But you got to play Lockett. Lockett is the floor play. If you think you need upside, you could go to Shaheed if you need upside. but you have to play Adams. It depends on how much upside you think you need. I'll amend. Lockett is a floor play who I would probably go with. Shaheed is an upside dart throw if you went against CeeDee Lamb, or you just are looking at your situation and you think you're a 15-point underdog. Then I would say Shaheed over Lockett. But otherwise, I would say Lockett. He's the floor play. Kyler or Baker, you play Kyler. You play Kyler anyway, but the fact that you have McBride makes it a slam dunk. Stack it up. Stack it up. McBride has been an elite tight end one of late, and he's probably the only guy Kyler has to throw the ball to. But the thing with Kyler is he maintains fantasy relevance as a runner, and the Eagles defense has been suspect this year, top to bottom. Kyler throwing the ball to McBride, stack it up, swing for the fences, go for the upside. Fields or Stroud, got this earlier. I'm sticking with Fields for the upside at home. Stroud's probably got the higher floor. Fields as a runner has the higher ceiling. Both of these offenses are banged up. Obviously, Houston's been without Tank Dell. Chicago is down Darnell Mooney and could be without Cole Kmet. But Fields as a runner, I gave him the slight edge. One running back, two wide receivers, ETN, Connor, Pittman, Debo, Chase. These are all elite options. The one running back is ETN. I mean, Connor's a great option, but if you can only play one, you're playing Travis Etienne in the most beatable matchup in the NFL outside of the Arizona Cardinals, and that's the Carolina Panthers. They get scorched by opposing running backs, and you figure Jacksonville will run the ball a lot today. As for your wide receivers, Debo has to be in, and you have to wait for Jamar Chase. Michael Pittman is excellent. I mean, these are all really good options. It's too bad you can't start all these guys, but you drafted Jamar Chase, or whether you traded for him or drafted him, he was drafted top 3 in your league, probably top 2. You play that guy because you have to. You play Chase and you play Debo and you play ETN. Just grab somebody who plays in the 4 o'clock window off waivers if you need to, if Jamar Chase is ruled out. But the expectation is, as of this morning, Chase is expected to play, which means you have to play him. Got to fire him up. And yes, Armand, you got it right. Every Falcon not named Bijan Robinson should probably be on the bench. I don't trust the Falcons' passing game on the road because it's been abysmal this year. I don't know that Taylor Heineke changes that. He's a gamer. He's gutsy. Let's just call a spade a spade. He just lacks the talent. Like, no one's questioning Taylor Heineke's toughness and want and will and motivation, and probably is a good leader. He's just not that talented. And on the road in a tough spot against the Bears, I don't trust this passing offense any more than when Desmond Ridder was the guy. It's been bad on the road all year for them. So London to the bench, Engram to the bench with CJ Beathard. You got it right. We're sitting one between Saquon, Henry, Cook, and Zamir White. Man, I'm inclined to say Henry. You have to start Saquon. Henry is in a good matchup against Houston, and he kills them for his career, although he was very bad against them a couple of weeks ago. 20 carries for 10 yards. But it's Derek freaking Henry. These are all really good options. James Cook is in the worst matchup of this group, but he's at home and has been incredible ever since the Bills made that coaching change. Firing Ken Dorsey, going to Joe Brady, James Cook has feasted. I think he had one down game in like 6 or 7. Yes, it's a brutal matchup, um, but I want to go with James Cook. I would say if you're a comfortable favorite, sit Zamir White and play those studs. If it's looking like an even matchup or you're looking like an underdog, I would play Zamir White over Henry. Saquon is in for me, James Cook is in for me. So it depends on what you think you need. Comfortable favorite, Henry. Anything else, Zamir White. Uh, Jaron Hall, East. Okay. So it's just like a ragtag crew of options. Tyrod Taylor. If it's one quarterback, Tyrod Taylor. If it's two, I would throw Mason Rudolph in there. Tyrod. Tyrod is probably the best quarterback of this group, and he's at home in a great matchup against LA. They give up a lot of points to opposing quarterbacks. Tyrod. He's got Darren Waller back. Obviously he can throw. All he has to do is dump the ball off to Saquon Barkley and let Saquon take him along for the ride for some points. It's a ragtag crew of receivers, but it's decent enough to for Tyrod to piece together some numbers. And Tyrod can run a little bit. He's older now, but he can still run a little bit. Tyrod, great matchup. Great matchup, great situation, and he's probably the best quarterback of this group. He's probably just the best quarterback of these options. If you need a second one, I would go Rudolph in a great matchup against Seattle. We're picking 3 between Eckler, Aaron Jones, T. Higgins, and Jaden Reed. I really don't want to play Eckler. But given these options, he's in play. I'm starting Aaron Jones. He's at home against the Vikings. The Vikings have been giving up decent production to running backs recently. Or no, he's not at home. He's on the road. Sorry. Aaron Jones is on the road. Still, the Vikings have been giving up a lot of points to opposing running backs recently. Aaron Jones, it hasn't been a typical Aaron Jones season. He's been out of the lineup when he's been in. There's been a couple of poor performances. But Aaron Jones is a vet, is a guy that you can lean on when healthy, championship week, when the matchup is favorable enough. Given these options, I would go Aaron Jones. I would also go T. Higgins. Even though Jamar Chase is expected to play, I would go T. Higgins in what could be a shootout against Kansas City. Obviously, Kansas City's got a good defense. Jake Browning's still a backup quarterback, but you figure that they're going to be slinging it. Cincinnati will be as they try to fight for their playoff lives. I would go Aaron Jones and I would go T. Higgins. And then I would go Jaden Reed over Austin Eckler. Yep. Reed has been a baller. He's been, I said it last night, but as Pat McAfee would say, Jaden Reed is a dog. Seems like he's on the injury report every week, fights through it, ends up without an injury designation going into the game, and then he puts up 15 half PPR points. He's been doing that for like 6 out of the past 7 weeks or 4 out of the past 5 weeks, something like that. Jones, Higgins, Reed. I'm sitting Eckler. I don't trust. I mean, it's a good matchup, but Easton Stick. This Chargers offense has gone in the toilet. Eckler has not been good the second half of the season. Jones, Higgins, Reed. Obviously, I typically say start your studs, but every factor and every trend is against Austin Eckler right now, including his own personal play. Bad offense, bad situation. They are eliminated from the playoffs. They're playing for nothing. No. Jones, Higgins, Reed. That's where I'm going. Stroud or Josh Allen. Allen, you got to play You got to play Allen. Is the weather bad in Buffalo? I thought I looked this up yesterday. It's 36 degrees. There's no wind. There's no rain in the no Allen. I don't care that it's cold. That doesn't that who cares? Josh Allen has played in cold weather games his whole life. He played college at Wyoming. He's been in the league for multiple years now. Like the cold weather, 30 and 36 degrees. That's a crisp fall afternoon in Buffalo. Allen, you play Josh and the matchup. It's Josh freaking Allen. You play your studs. There's only two quarterbacks I would consider over Josh Allen. That's Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson. Neither of which you have. Allen, start your studs. Start your studs. And then Connor, Zamir, or Jaden Reed. If you can only start one of these guys, I got to know the scoring. If it's full PPR, man, Jaden Reed has been a top 20 running or a top 20 wide receiver, more like a top 15 wide receiver the second half of the season. He's been a wide receiver too, a steady wide receiver too. Connor's in a decent matchup. Caught the ball a decent amount last week. Marquise Brown is out, so you figure James Conner's going to get involved as a receiver today. The Eagles are certainly beatable. Man, I keep going back and forth with Connor and Zamir White. I keep going back and forth with Connor and Zamir White. I think I give the slight nod to Connor, ultimately. I originally said somebody else offered, but they had there was a running back and a flex spot, so I was able to say play both Zamir White and James Conner. The matchup is better for Zamir White, but James Conner is his team's regular starter. I think I lean Conner. If you can play two, then I would play both of the running backs. But if you can only play one, I would play Conner. 5 catches last week for 67 yards and a score. Should get involved again as a receiver today. Marquise Brown is out, and the Eagles linebackers are not very good. Connor, Zamir, Reed in that order. If you can start two, I would start the two backs. If you can only start one, I'll start Connor. And Allen over Stroud definitively. Full PPR, Zeke, Achane, Chandler. A lot of people like Zeke this week. I see a lot of experts and analysts ranking Zeke relatively high. RB2 upside given the volume. And the Bills can certainly be had. They are not a shutdown unit. I do like them in this spot today, though, because of the matchup. Zeke's been really good since he took over for Ramondre Stevenson. Here's my thing about Ezekiel Elliott today. It's a division game, which I think makes the situation more challenging for Ezekiel Elliott. Buffalo is at home, where they're going to play better defense by default, and the Patriots' offense is pretty inept. It would not surprise me today if Ezekiel Elliott had a tough time getting things going. It wouldn't surprise me. I know he's got volume on his side because the Patriots can't do much else on offense. But division games are often weird. They're more likely than not to be a slugfest than a non-division matchup in the NFL, which means, tough defense, lower scoring affairs, and the Patriots offense is already bad. It wouldn't surprise me if Zeke fell short of expectations today. If I'm wrong, I'll eat my words, but it wouldn't surprise me if, given the circumstances, on the road against a division team that is white hot right now, the Bills are storming toward the playoffs. The Patriots can't wait to get to 2024. It is a mismatch. Yes, the Patriots will play hard because they want to play spoiler against their division opponent, but the Bills have had the Patriots number since Tom Brady left New England and Josh Allen ascended. They're at home with an opportunity to pretty much lock in their opportunity to make the playoffs. I don't like Zeke in this spot. I don't like Zeke in this spot. I really don't. I think my suggestion is Achan, because I liked Raheem Mostert as a start against Baltimore before we knew that he was out. Now Devon Achane should see increased volume. We can't expect a bell cow role for Devon Achane. I just don't see how he holds up. So other guys are going to get involved, get into the mix. But Devon Achane needs to be a huge part of the Dolphins' game plan now. Down Raheem Mostert, and already also out is Jalen Waddle. I think I would go Achane here. And in full PPR, he should catch the ball. I think that's where I would go. I would go Achane. You had CD. That's spectacular. Congrats on that. He might carry you home. I would go Achane with an expected increased role. Zeke is a floor play, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a low floor today. You could go Zeke since you had CD Lamb. I just wouldn't be surprised if Zeke fell short of expectations. I know it's a brutal matchup for Achane, but the opportunity just went up. Thielen, Pickens, or Lockett? Lockett is your floor play, and I guess if you need big-time upside, I would say Pickens. Like, if a zero won't help you if a zero doesn't matter because you're an underdog anyway, then Pickens, but otherwise your floor play is Lockett at home. Pretty good matchup. But he is a low floor play. I don't trust Adam Thielen at this point in the season. I just don't. Thielen is also, like, I guess, a low floor play, but on the road, I don't have as much confidence in him. If he was at home, I might say Thielen as a floor play, but he's on the road. I'm not as crazy about Adam Thielen. I would say Lockett is your floor play and Pickens is your upside play, depending on what you need. Tyrod or Sam Howell? Tyrod for sure. Sam Howell is playing terribly recently, and he's in a brutal matchup. Tyrod is in the best matchup that you can ask for by the numbers. The Rams are giving up a lot of production to opposing quarterbacks, especially over the past month. Tyrod, definitively. The Commanders wanted to bench Sam Howell. They're only going back to him because Jacoby Brissett can't go. No, I'll take Tyrod. Lamar or Stroud? Lamar. There's 3 slam dunk quarterbacks that you're playing over everybody else. Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. Start your studs. Stroud's a stud too, to be fair. Lamar is an MVP level stud. Like NFL MVP level stud. Lamar Jackson. You play Lamar Jackson. Yeah, definitively. Nico Collins or T. Higgins? I'm going Nico Collins. He has balled with Stroud in the lineup. Nico Collins has balled out this year catching passes from CJ Stroud. Stroud is back for Houston. Nico should dominate targets, even with Noah Brown off the injury report. And it's a beatable matchup at home. Nico. Higgins has been good recently, but on the road, tougher matchup. I like him today, but I don't like him over guys like Nico. Um, Nico Collins. Nico Collins for sure. You have okay. You have Connor. All right, good. Yeah, Connor was what I sorry I missed this part. So I reaffirmed it without noticing. Connor should be as Connor's the guy over Zamir. It's close. It's not a runaway. Both are in good spots, but I'll take Connor. I'll take the guy who is the regular starter. And yeah, no weather concerns in Buffalo. You're firing Josh Allen up. You're firing Josh Allen up in a blizzard anyway, but the fact that there's no concerns, just a little cold, no problem. Firing up Allen. As far as Jeff Wilson, yes, he's on the RB3 roadmap. You figure he's probably going to get the in-between the tackles opportunities today, maybe more so than Achane, but Miami's going to need Achane as a playmaker. They're going to need Achane as a playmaker. I don't trust Wilson. He's a dart throw moonshot in a brutal matchup. But yes, you figure he should probably see, and he could see 10 carries just because we don't expect a player of Devon Achane's stature to ever carry the load. Increased role today? Absolutely. Bell cow? I don't think we can ever expect that from Achane. Jeff Wilson will mix in today, but I can't fire him up anywhere. Not in DFS, not in season long. I can't fire him up anywhere. The matchup is too brutal. But yes, he should mix in for the Dolphins as a change of pace guy, running between the tackles, probably more frequently than Achane. That being said, don't start him. Two wide receivers in a flex: Adams, Cup, Jones, Metcalf, Chandler, White. These are all good options. They're all really good options. I think you have to start Cup. And I think you have to start Metcalf. Metcalf can if you're down a little bit, Metcalf can give you a huge play at home. Because it's full PPR. I'm inclined to go Adams. I'm inclined to say go with Adams. And just hope that these are stud wide receivers who should be able to bring it home, like who should be able to bring home, deliver for you. Even though it's a tough matchup by the numbers against Indianapolis. The matchup is in Zamir White's favor. As far as your Raiders options, the matchup is in Zamir White's favor. The Raiders give up a lot of points to opposing running backs. They don't give up a lot of points to wide receivers. But Davante Adams is Davante Adams. I would play Cup. I would play Metcalf. Your floor play is Devontae Adams, but if you think you need to swing for the fences, then I guess I would suggest Zamir White. If you're down and you need to make up ground, I don't want to sit Devontae Adams. He's a stud. Zamir White might be the more upside play if you think you need it. Adams has a higher floor, even though it's a tough matchup. Zamir White has a higher ceiling. Ugh. Metcalf, Cup for sure. And then Zamir White, I guess, is the upside play if that's where you think you need to go. But I don't want to. I have a hard time taking Devontae Adams out of my lineup. That's the problem. Jaden Reed or Pickens? Jaden Reed. Pickens popped last week. I just don't know that we can trust that to duplicate itself. It's not going to duplicate itself, but can he get 15 points? Can he get 15 or 50% of what he did last week? I mean, that would be great, but it's been an up and down season for George Pickens. Jaden Reed's been rock solid the second half of the year. I think past 6 weeks, he's been a top 15 running back or wide receiver. I would go Reed. I would go Reed. Flowers or Devontae Smith? Those are both tough matchups by the numbers. Both guys are at home, so that helps. I think my inclination is leaning Devontae Smith. Flowers has been very good 3 of the past 4 weeks, but Devontae Smith has been very good in home games for the Eagles all season long. Look at Devontae Smith's home splits. 24 half PPR points, 11 half PPR points. He had one bad game in week 7 against Miami, 6.9 half PPR points. Week 9, 12.6. Week 12, 21. Week 13, 20. And then last week, 15.9. I mean, the double-digit scoring has been there in every game, but every home game but one this year for Devontae Smith. And he's cleared 20 points 3 times. Devontae. I would go Devontae. Flowers has been very good as well. But as of at this point right now, Devontae is the better receiver. Not that Flowers is not that Flowers is a scrub. Quite the opposite. But Devontae Smith, I think, is a little bit more of a track record, and he's been very good at home this year. I would say Devontae Smith. Taylor, Cook, or Mixon. We're going Taylor. You're going Taylor at home. Zach Moss is out. Not that you need to worry about Jonathan Taylor's backup, but he's your best option here. Mixon should be fine getting volume, but it's a tougher matchup on the road. Taylor's at home, and he's going to get all the volume. Cook is I like Cook this week, but he's just in the worst matchup of these 3. Taylor. Goal line work today for the Dolphins. They'll interchange. They'll mix it. HM will get red zone and goal line opportunities. But yeah, if he fails, then Jeff Wilson will come in. They'll alternate. I got to imagine there's a bit of a hot hand approach based on circumstances, based on the situation. Wilson figures to have a few more opportunities as a between the tackles runner, but Achane is the playmaker in this offense. So I would say, it's probably going to be a hot hand approach. Both guys will get those opportunities. It's just going to depend on game flow and situation. I would have to expect. Yeah. Wilson is not playable. Achane can be fired up as an RB2, but the ceiling might not quite be there. Chiefs or Rams defense? Are the Colts out there? Are the Bears out there? I assume probably not. And the Bills are probably not out there either. If not, I would lean the Chiefs at home. The Rams have been pretty good, but they haven't been as good on the road this year. Tyrod Taylor is a better player than Tommy DeVito. And the Rams got to come east for an early game. Kansas City's at home against Jake Browning. I mean, Kansas City. Kansas City. And then Pickens, London, or Demarcus Robinson. Pickens. I don't trust Drake London on the road. The numbers have not been there for him this year on the road. I just don't trust him. The Bears are playing pretty good defense recently. I guess I trust Taylor Heineke a little bit more than Desmond Ridder, but that's not saying much. That's like saying I trust the 35th best quarterback more than the 36th best quarterback. Like we're splitting hairs here. Pickens. Demarcus Robinson is a little bit more of a dart throw. Yes, he has emerged as the team's wide receiver 3, but Pickens is a regular starter for Pittsburgh. DeMarcus still has to overcome Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Pickens. I don't trust London on the road. Javonte could have a good game today, but I mean, it's Easton Stick against Jarrett Stidham. How many points do we expect to be scored in this game? Probably not a lot. Could Javonte be the guy that comes through? Sure, the matchup is good enough, but I just don't trust this offense. It was hard to trust it with Russell Wilson. Now I got to trust it with Jarrett Stidham. Plus, I mean, and I know the matchups have been bad recently, but Williams has not been effective, has not been efficient. Last week, 2.2 yards a carry, 2.2 again, week 15, 3.9 against the Chargers last week. That's just below average. 3.5 week 13, not good. 3.6 week 12, not good. 3.36 week 11, not good. He's been under 4 yards a carry in every game since week 8. There have been some bad matchups in there. There have been some tough opponents. But he has really struggled. I would think more like 10 than 15. Yeah, he needs a touchdown to come through. I don't know if the Broncos are going to have enough scoring opportunities for him to get that. Maybe, but don't watch that game if you don't have to. Just close your eyes and hope that the numbers are there at the end of the day. Javonte is a boring RB3 with no ceiling. I guess the floor is decent, but no ceiling. Bijan Swift and Achane over Flowers. Yes. Yeah. Yes, I'm with that. Um, it's hard to trust the matchup is really bad, but with Raheem Mostert out, Jeff Wilson will mix in. I would think he gets 10 opportunities or so. We don't expect Achan to be a bell cow, but we expect an increased role as the playmaker out of that backfield. No Raheem Mostert, also no Jalen Waddle. Achan's role will increase, will go up. Yes, I'm fine starting him over somebody like Zay Flowers, especially if you need the upside. Flowers is the floor play. Achan is the upside play. And I think I would go Achan with this increased opportunity. Fields or Stroud? I'll go. What's the status on Cole Kmet? Have we been given an injury designation on him? He's active. All right. There you go. Cleared to play. There you go. Fields. However, this is not a situation where I'm stacking. Trey McBride has just been a flat out better player. I'm starting Trey McBride over Cole Kmet definitively. However, Kmet being in helps Fields, who is more of a threat as a runner. Therefore, I like his upside a little bit more. I would go Fields over Stroud, but I would not stack it up here. I would go McBride over Kmet. Obviously, if Kmet scores, that helps Fields, but I got to go with McBride. He has been a top flight tight end one of late. You got to go with McBride. And for your two flexes, it's those first two running backs. Zamir White with the backfield to himself in a beautiful matchup against the Colts. And James Conner, increased role last week. Marquise Brown is out, caught the ball 5 times, scored on one of them. The opportunity, the volume is there. It's a beatable matchup against the Eagles and their linebackers, Connor. I like Singletary, but I like those other two running backs a little bit more. For me, Ridley's out of consideration with CJ Beathard being the guy. Fields, McBride, Zamir White, James Conner. That's where I'm going. All right, I think I got everybody. I'll hang around for another couple of minutes with about 50 minutes to go before the slate. Again, just want to say thank y'all for the support coming in, hanging out, thinking enough to spend your time here, whether it was for 1 week or 1 hour or multiple weeks over the course of the season. Appreciate you guys, the engagement, the conversation, the patience as I work through the chat. This is why I do it. Hopefully steer y'all in the right direction more often than not and get you guys to where you want to go, which is today for all the marbles for the championship. There will probably be a break in the action for me. This is likely my last stream for a little while. I will be available in Discord if anybody wants to join the Discord. Second link in the description of this stream. And I'll be around for Dynasty content in March. For anybody who wants to play Dynasty or does play Dynasty or wants to play Dynasty. If you're interested in Dynasty, you can always hit me up. Happy to talk shop on that. It is my favorite format to play. To be completely honest, I do prefer it to redraft. Obviously, redraft is when the actual action happens, but to have control of it, to be more like a general manager over the course of the entire offseason, it's a lot of fun for folks like me. So that content we'll start looking at in March and April as the draft approaches. And then, of course, we'll look forward to the 2024 season later on as well. Walker over Demarcus Robinson. Play the RB2 over the dart throw wide receiver. Walker's expected to play. I would go with him. Yeah, play the RB2, even though he's, it's a little dicey. It's a good matchup. He's at home. I would trust in Kenneth Walker. For me, this and yeah, I'm happy to talk shop on anything not related to fantasy. I would say, Greg, at this point, I know it's cliche, but I mean, I don't see anybody beating San Francisco in the NFC, and I have a hard time at this point believing anybody can beat Baltimore in the AFC. I know they're the favorites right now. They're both the top seeds in their conference, but the Chiefs don't feel like the Chiefs that we've grown accustomed to under Patrick Mahomes. The Bengals are obviously way off. Whether they make the playoffs or not, they're off the radar without Joe Burrow. The Bills are dangerous. But if that game's in Baltimore, I don't see how they overcome that defense, plus Lamar Jackson playing at an MVP type of level. I think Baltimore goes, and I don't see anybody. I don't see Dallas beating San Francisco, and I don't see Philly beating San Francisco on the road. If the 49ers have the 1 seed locked up with that team, how deep it is, getting 2 home games before going to the Super Bowl, that's the matchup. Ravens, 49ers, I got to imagine, are the teams that are headed to Vegas. Probably a home field advantage for San Francisco in that situation, given the proximity. Not that I don't expect Baltimore's fan base to bring it if they get there, but that would be my guess. Baltimore and San Francisco, a rematch of the Beyonce hairdryer bowl when the lights went out at the stadium. So that would be my guess. We'll see what happens. I'll be around. I'm available in Discord. You can always ask questions on any video on this channel. If anything comes up, if there's anything you want to talk through, just let me know. But best of luck to everybody today playing for something. Thank you one last time for you guys, your engagement, your contributions this season. It's been fun. Happy to have steered at least several people into the championship week. Hopefully you guys can bring it home. Definitely rooting for y'all. I might be able to do a stream next week if anybody wants to strut about their victory. I can give people a platform to boast about any victories that they secure this week. We'll play that one by ear. Maybe I'll crowdsource the Discord and see if anybody wants that. Just a little victory lap for anybody who clinches wins today. But I think that'll do it for me. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate all the engagement this season. It's been a fun season. Hopefully it's been fun for y'all. We'll do this all again next year, starting in March. March, April, we'll start looking at Dynasty content as we move through the 2024 season and we start looking at projections for next year. But best of luck today, and I'll see you guys when I see you. Thanks, everybody.